Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And here is your double dose of Dismal Disney. Ron DeSantis had his press conference.
Yes.
And he said the things that we predicted or they said he was going to say. And yeah, it was interesting because he wasn't like blowing his stack or anything. People try to make it out like, you know, oh, Ron DeSantis is
not at all.
No, he was just like, well, now Disney, if that's the way you want to do it.
He wasn't even like that. He was just like, hey, kept saying repeatedly, I didn't think we're going to be back here revisiting this. And he wasn't mean about it. He wasn't yelling or anything like that. It was not at all.
No. So it was really interesting to watch this. He basically said that, you know, they're possibly going to just nullify the previous agreement, start over again, and be like, look, Disney's gonna play by the same rules everybody else has to play by.
That's the main message of everything he kept saying. It was simply that Disney cannot be, the government is made by laws, not by men, and government is not, you know, something that Disney can control. It's elected, and they're not above it. That was basically his point.
Yeah, now you can go out and watch the whole press conference for yourself on YouTube. It's about 35 minutes long, I think. But I mean, he outlined some pretty good points, and regardless of where you fall on this situation, Disney put themselves here. They put themselves here. I mean, not only, and I'm not even talking the initial volley, I'm talking the fact that they did this underhanded bullshit, which put them back in the crosshairs,
right.
And it could have been dealt with civilly. They could have had.
They would have probably been able to negotiate and get what they wanted.
Absolutely. Bob Iger could have, you know, flown his ass in. He could have come down from on high and he could sit down. They could have talked about it, tried to smooth over some things like they've been doing for decades. Didn't happen. Here we are. Now it's going to be really interesting to see where Disney winds up in this. And they are going to have to probably pay a lot more than they would have if they had just, you know, tried to work it out.
Yeah, they just tried to work with them.
All right, so we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, Geeky will give you a woohoo if you subscribe. And we've been following this situation. Normally, we don't get very political on the channel, despite what Twitter thinks.
Well, what's interesting to me was, and I was thinking about this earlier when I was in the kitchen, it's like, I never would have thought I'd see the time when the Republicans would be the ones who are like, corporations can't run everything, and the Democrats are like, let the corporation do what the corporation wants to do. I was sitting like, I can't wrap my head around this.
What got me about this was I watched, you know, part of the talk, and it was like, he said, you know, when the Democrats wanted to strip Disney of power, everybody was on board with that because they're like, this corporation should not have this kind of power in Florida. And then he's like, when I do it, though, because of partisanship, everybody, you know, flips on me. And yeah, this should have been dealt with, you know, years ago, decades ago.
And honestly, when you listen to the discussion, there's other people that spoke, and he was by far less politically charged than other people that spoke. Like the people that were representatives of the district or whatever, they had, the one girl, man, she was woke this, woke that. I mean, he was actually pretty, you know, even keel, all things considered.
Yeah, so we're gonna kind of walk through what he said and what this means. And look, I think this is gonna be months and years of back and forth. And regardless of what happens, it might be a case of, you know, DeSantis sets something up, and then once he gets gone because he wants to run for president, then somebody else might come in and be able to walk it back. I have no idea. But, you know, I think it's kind of funny because I don't think they would be having press conferences and stuff like that if they didn't think they had the means to be able to nullify the agreement.
They said legally they don't think that Disney can let they'll win this one because there's so many things that they did. Like they negotiated with themselves. Yeah. He had called an 11th hour deal. They didn't put the proper notifications out according to DeSantis. There's a bunch of different things that they did that are red flags. And it's a problem. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just saying they do have some grounds apparently.
All right, so here we go. This is coming from the Orlando Business Journal. DeSantis isn't done on turning the screws on Central Florida in the state's largest single state employer.
You know,
Disney
I'm so
World.
tired of these little. Okay, and any other time, these other people would be like, you know, let the little guy, yeah, you know, and they're like, you know, oh, poor Disney. Poor Disney. One thing DeSantis kept mentioning was they list their own property values to determine what taxes they pay. Who else gets to do that?
Yeah, there's this meme going around. Have you seen this meme?
No.
This is the the neckbeard standing for the multi-million-dollar corporation.
Well, what makes me mad on watching these comments and the way these journalists behave and other people behave is that everybody's looking at it through, like I said, red or blue glasses. And they're not just looking at the basic facts. And the basic facts are that no company should have power to supersede the government. No company should have the power to have a nuclear power plant if they decide to do so, to eminent domain on property that there's no recourse for because it's their own personal, they own the government. There's a lot of things that make you determine what your own property values are. I mean, there's a lot of things here that just, if you would say that it was, like you said, the Democrats are presenting this, that it was a Democrat governor, yes, they'd all be cheering for it because it's a load of shit. But now they're like, oh, poor Disney who stands for our identity, whatever. How dare they? How dare you attack Disney?
Remember Occupy Wall Street when the Democrats were against Pfizer?
Yeah. I know.
Just putting that out there.
If you took away this political bias,
yeah,
it would be a completely different story.
Everything has become so tainted by this partisan.
What, media taint and stuff? No, you would never guess that.
All right, so they are the media's taint.
Yeah,
it smells very bad. Anyway, they said DeSantis plans to tap into a Florida statute that will allow the state to revoke a land development agreement Disney and the former Reedy Creek board agreed to in February.
Yeah, because Disney, which they're not really mentioning that, went and pulled a fast one, and changed forgave themselves. They got their own board with themselves to give themselves something else.
Yes, which is a very Disney thing to do. They said they're going to file legislation to place Disney's rides and attractions under inspection and oversight by the state's Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, which before exempted large theme parks as long as they reported injuries that occurred on property. So my thing is I think Universal's actually exempt from that, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they said any theme park that has over 1,000 employees and have dedicated inspectors, they didn't have to go through the state. So if they're going to do this for Disney, they're going to have to do it for SeaWorld and for Universal as well. That's just fair.
Absolutely, unless they'll be like, well, just theme parks located in this particular parcel
district,
of land. I can see them doing that.
If they're going to do that, which I don't disagree with the idea that they should be inspected again by outside inspectors for the government. They're going to have to do that across the board and I think they would, because he kept arguing the whole time that Disney shouldn't get special treatment over competitors.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that either the competitors currently don't have to do that, or if they already are in the same boat as Disney, everybody's going to have to do that.
They are not superior to the law enacted by the people of the state of Florida. DeSantis said Disney's agreements are not going to work. That's not going to fly. The Disney agreements, which included a restrictive covenants contract, essentially stripped many of the powers of the new board and required Disney to have final say on any development or any plans the district may have for its land. The move drew the ire of DeSantis, who during the April 17th conference called the contracts a sham agreement.
It is. I'm sorry. It's a shitty thing. You can all stand for Disney all you want because you're Disney stands or you're far on one side or, you can do that. But again, if any other company did this, Yep. If any company you didn't like did this, you'd be pissed and you'd be screaming about it.
Yes.
Especially if they didn't politically align with you, especially.
Yeah, so what they're leaving out are the ridiculous clauses like this agreement is in effect until the last descendant of King Charles has been dead for 30 years.
And the fact that they did it like just hours within the thing being signed. And you can argue that, somebody should have reread it. However, they're hours away. Would they even had time to reread everything again? But it should have been notified that there was meetings, that they were doing something, what the purpose of the meetings were. And if they did it under the radar. They did it in some minute wherever and said, well, we did technically post it. But it was underhanded. No matter how you look at it, it was an underhanded thing Disney did.
Yeah, okay, so they said, it would apply to parks within a special district. This is an interesting note, as Disney's the only major...
Yeah, yep. That's true. I did catch that.
So they said Universal
I did hear that.
Yep, and SeaWorld could be exempt.
And I don't agree with that.
I don't agree. I think if the point is, at this point, then it becomes about payback. I think if the purpose is to make sure Disney is treated exactly like the other theme parks, then they all need to be inspected, or none of them have to be inspected.
Catch that now I'm reading it, and I'm like, and I remember thinking, there's so much coming at me, and I was trying to cover it myself. I remember thinking that was a weird choice of words. I'm like, I thought Disney was the only special district. That's because Disney is the only special district.
Yes.
Okay.
And look,
I don't agree with that.
This is corporate nice. Like he was being all kind of like, well, we might have to do this and we might have to look at that. We might have to whatever. You could, fly your ass down here, Bob, and we could talk about it. But you're not going to do that.
I think if you're going to put Disney under the script, not put the other ones under it, that's not okay. Either it's, if you're going to complain, if you're going to make your point that Disney has to play by the same rules as the competitors, Disney is not above the law, Disney is not above the competitors, Disney is not above the people of Florida, it's really kind of counterintuitive and kind of hypocritical to then turn around and say, but only Disney has to face these special things and not SeaWorld and Universal. Because then you're doing the exact same thing you said you were against.
That's where you lose me, I think, because I think, this. Now, that being said, and we talked about in previous video, the monorails are a freaking disaster.
They are bad. They really are.
That might fall under like public transportation or something like that. I don't know, but they have been a disaster for years. They were going to replace them a half a decade ago, and then those plans got derailed, because of the pandemic, I think, and because Iger overspent, and I think that has more to do with it. He overspent, but they might be forced to either upgrade the monorails or shut them down.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that if he's only doing this in a special district area, so it doesn't impact their competitors, that makes you just as guilty of what you're saying you're against. So I recommend not doing that. They're talking about, they brought the undeveloped land. Yes, they did say this. They said that some people suggested that we should make a state park or another amusement park, or somebody even suggested a state prison.
Oh my God.
He said that. Somebody you went driving on in, there's a state prison by Disney.
Who knows? I think the possibilities are endless now that they will be analyzed to see what will make the most sense.
Yeah, he totally did say that.
DeSantis appeared to have walked back the idea of installing more taxes or tolls around Disney. Yeah, that's something that was not going to curry any favor with any of his constituents.
No, and the thing is, he's we can't just tax the tourists because you can't just, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that we don't want to overtax our people, but there's no way to do it without, causing a bunch of problems. So that was dumb. We said that was a dumb idea from the beginning, and it's still, so I guess we're not doing that now.
So I thought Bob Iger was very willing to work with Florida.
All the Disney blogs said so.
Why is Bob Iger radio silent other than to give DeSantis a backhand slap during the earnings call? You're not hearing from. I'm willing to talk to him. Sure, I'm willing to talk.
He has to come to me. Well,
he has to come to me.
I think it's your turn to say something, Bob. A couple things that I don't see mentioned here that were mentioned also in the call or in the press conference. I think it was important. Was that one? They said that they were going to get pay raises for the first responders, which I thought was interesting. They brought that up because I think the only ones that keep talking about the first responders was us, because I knew it was a key point for years of covering Disney. And another thing they brought up was the fact that they want to look into the affordable housing for employees and workers in the area, because Disney has been saying over and over they're going to do more affordable housing, and then they don't do it. So they brought that up. They also brought up the taxes. They also made sure they clarified again that the taxpayers that are not in the district are not going to be liable for Disney's debt. They have like $1 billion in unsecured debt. So some of the things they were suggesting to start paying that back was look at the millage, which would be Disney-owned stuff because it's Disney stuff in that area, and raise the taxes on Disney. They're talking about maybe taking more out of the revenue to get that paid off quicker. And they also mentioned possibly selling the utilities. You're doing utilities for a private company to save money, and that would help offset. They sold the utilities that would offset some of the expense and the debt they owed. So he did bring those up as well.
Yeah, so I mean, look, they're not going to hit the nuke button on Disney because they do correctly bring up that Disney brings a shit ton of money and a shit ton of.
They do, as Bob Iger likes to tell you, it was just swampland until Disney came and made it what it is today. So you all owe us everything, and we should be allowed to do whatever the hell we want, because if you don't agree, you're anti-Florida and anti-business.
You're anti-business.
I'm anti-bullshit, and I'm anti-arrogance.
So, yeah, they replaced Reedy Creek. It was the 39 square mile governing jurisdiction and special taxing district created in 67 for Disney World's land that acts with the same authority and responsibility as a county government. Again, that was because the original Florida plan, if you go back to Walt's board where he's pointing to it with the stick. The original plan for Florida, Epcot, was it was going to be a city.
Right.
That just happened to have a theme park.
Right. So that's why they got the special treatment that they got. Because they were being treated as if they were their own city.
Building a city. And they kind of sort of are, except it's more like Vegas than...
Yeah, it's like not like a permanent residence. Yeah.
No. Yeah, so, this is going to be an interesting situation, guys. This is going to go on for a while. I guess Wednesday they're going to have the meeting.
Well, yeah, I guess in the formal, and he said the formal bill would be presented next week, I believe he said.
Yeah.
So they basically said there's a lot more coming. Stay tuned. Was pretty much what they said. At the end.
So I guarantee you there's a plan for this. So what they're basically talking about doing, if you missed the previous video, is creating a board that supersedes Disney's board and is the final state authority on that until they come up.
Dare you?
Until they come up with a final. It's like Final Fantasy. It's like it's never final because a boss has like 40 different forms.
Right. You think you beat it, and then it's a final boss.
Final
yeah,
boss.
they're going to do that. The state attorney general, I guess, is looking into if there's any criminal charges to be filed against Disney.
Oh.
Yeah, they're investigating it currently. I don't know if there will be. I mean, Disney has like the best lawyers ever, so there probably won't be. But they're looking into it.
Yeah, I think what gets me about this whole thing, and again, we said before this is a pissing match between DeSantis and Disney, and what gets me about this is it really could have all been avoided with a couple of sit-down conversations. I mean, they could have even walked back a lot of the damage that Bob Chapek did. With a sit-down conversation.
Reedy Creek had to be.
It had to go.
Gone.
They've been talking about it. They've been talking about it for years.
There. And and he's right. When other people wanted to remove power from Disney that leaned a certain way, they were fine with it. And since most media outlets have a distinct bias to one direction over the other, they're all like, "Oh, go Bob Iger." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like 6 years ago, you were like, Disney has too much power. What the hell? Stop Disney."
I'm just waiting for the idiots on Twitter to be like, "Oh my God, DeSantis is invading Disney's property. It's like Russia and Ukraine. Get him, Mickey, get him.
I don't
Hold
know.
him back."
They're being ridiculous. All because Disney's standing up for certain ideologies I agree with, and it's like they aren't really though.
Disney doesn't stand up for shit.
They publicly say one thing and then do something else entirely. Like we're gonna stand up for gay rights and non-white people and everything else, but when push comes to shove, when they want to get the movies into China, they suddenly forget that that's what they're standing for. They admitted, apparently, that because they were part of the group that were asked, if you saw genocide in China, would you say or do anything? No, because then China might retaliate against us. That's their true colors. I mean, I don't know why people keep thinking they're one thing when they're not. You're all yelling, yay, because Ariel's black, but then you're having a hissy fit because, no, Nani's not dark-skinned enough. I'm like, I don't know what to fucking tell you. It's like they're not who they say they are. They'll say whatever they have to say to get you to support them when they want you to support them.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
All right. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.